My name is Tracy Cook, and this podcast series is called Victim to Victory. This series gives a voice to those that have overcome obstacles in all forms, that dare greatly to share their real stories. Amazing humans that have seen hope and risen above those adversities to become victorious, that go on to support and inspire others to do the same. And today we are giving a voice to Bradley Stuart. Now, let me tell you a little bit about his background, and then I'll hand you over to Bradley because his story is so amazing, empowering, and inspiring. And I really believe you're going to get value and learn how to overcome any obstacle from his actual story. I read his bio book, and it was absolutely so inspiring to me. So Dr. Bradley Stuart, he was diagnosed as a toddler with cerebral palsy and bullied at school. I'll let him explain more about that. He's a man of very strong faith and was raised in South Africa in the apartheid era. And today he'll be sharing his health and spiritual journey. He has 2 adopted children as well. He's married, and he's coming to us from Washington today. So thank you, Bradley, for joining us on Victim to Victory podcast today.
Thank you. It's a real honor and privilege to be with you and to share my story of how wonderfully I've just seen my life go to be able to overcome so many challenges. As you mentioned, I was born and raised in South Africa. At the time of my birth, there were incredible problems, and when I actually was finally pulled out with forceps, they actually said I was dead. And then I was miraculously revived, and in the incubator overcame many, many challenges, even being given at one point 2 hours to live, and survived that because of the faith and prayers of my parents. And then at the age of 4, they finally discovered that I had cerebral palsy because I was not yet able to walk and talk. And from then on, an incredible journey of healing began for me.
Oh, I just think that when I was reading through your story, Bradley, just the faith that your parents had in you as well, that would have been really encouraging as at an early start of your journey of overcome as well, would it?
Very, very true. I don't think I could have come to the place of healing and wholeness in my health and well-being if I hadn't had that loving, caring family that were there for me, encouraging me all along the way. My journey began at a cerebral palsy school where at first I couldn't even hold a pen or pencil, but within a short number of years, I was able to write and talk and move more freely. And that's when my parents took the leap and put me in a normal public school.
And how did you feel about going into a normal public school? You would have been excited. You would have been wanting to, make some new friends and things like that. How did that experience actually go for you?
I was very excited to go and join my sister, who was 2 years older than me. However, in the cerebral palsy school, I'd somewhat been sheltered and protected. And the minute I got into the regular public school, I found kids saying, "Why do you walk funny? Why do you talk funny?" and starting to mock and tease me and bully me every day. And that excitement was very, very quickly destroyed, and I became very fearful, shy, and inwardly focused.
So what action did the school take? Did the school take any action, or did your parents take any action, or was bullying seen as just things in this playground that kids do, or was it actually seen even such a short time in the reality of things, not that long ago? Was the awareness around the implications of bullying addressed back then as well?
I don't think it was that addressed back then. It wasn't a big issue like it is today. In the last few years, it's become a major issue. But back then, it wasn't such a big issue. And fortunately, my sister was able to shield me some for a period of time and just keep me going. And I just had a real tenacity, because when you've had a handicap, you tend to just be one who says, I'm not going to give up. And I wasn't going to give up, but I was going to triumph over it.
So you had kind of like an inner voice that was saying that fire in your belly, that inner voice saying you're meant for more, like just overcome, just keep showing up, just keep being tenacious. Would that be right to say?
Very, very much. And then my parents and family kept encouraging me, and they just kept me going. And I had that encouragement, which was what I needed.
I think that's absolutely wonderful. Now, I would love to hear, and I know our audience would love to hear about overcoming that bullying and the characteristics that you had to form as a result of that to take you to the next stage of the chapter in your book of life.
Well, for me, the way that I was able to make that step and change was through my faith. If I had not had the faith that I had, I would have just withdrawn, seen myself as a spastic retard, because kids every day said, hi spaz, what's wrong spastic, come here retard. And so my brain wanted to be programmed that way. But when I came to faith, my mindset changed, and that led me to start the road to victory.
Oh, I think that's absolutely wonderful. So tell us about how God has played a part on your spiritual journey and the lessons that life has taught you that is in alignment and possibly sometimes not in alignment with your faith. What struggles have you been through with that as well?
I think my biggest struggle was with self-acceptance. And my biggest breakthrough came when I saw how the Bible said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I realized that I would never love others around me properly or love God properly until I loved myself properly. And once that began to happen, everything else then started to come into place. And it wasn't a journey of a one-time event. I've actually identified 20 specific battles that I've overcome because of rejection, first in the area of fear, then in the area of rebellion, the area of self-focus, and then the area that affected my attitudes, which all of those then affected everything else.
And what kind of things did you go through in each of those areas? Can you tell us a little bit about where you started when you said fear? So what kind of things surrounded those feelings of fear, and how did you break through them?
The very first thing I did because of fear was I put up walls of self-protection. But I had to realize no matter how hard you try to protect yourself, you never can do it properly. Then I feared people around me so much until I realized, what can they really do to me? their words can harm me, but I need to fight to overcome that fear of man. And then I found I became overly codependent on people. So when I found a friend, I latched onto them with dear life and allowed them to control and take over. And then that led to me being very, very performance driven. And that performance drive led me to not be able to set clear, healthy boundaries. And so as I recognized each of those, I had a breakthrough by recognizing what they were doing, and then I could see the incredibly positive impact that I could have on others and myself when I overcame those.
That's so true. I think at one stage of our life, and probably many stages of our life, we've had those friends that we just totally become codependent on. I know I have, and I've just given all of myself to them to the point where I've made them toxic, because I've so heavily relied on them. So I think a lot of people will definitely be able to relate to that. Now, you also mentioned rebellion in there as well. So talk us through
Rebellion
that.
was a real hard one for me. 2 years in a row when I was teaching and training students, some of the students I corrected called me controlling. And I thought, I'm not controlling. And then as I thought about it, I realized that I fear correcting people in case they would reject me. So the way that I corrected them was in silent rebellion. And then what I would do is, after being silent 6 or 7 times, I'd explode, and then I would be controlling. Then there was open rebellion when I became very frustrated, not being able to do what people were trying to get me to do. And then I found I went into subtle rebellion, and I would use my giftings and my abilities in a wrong way to manipulate and control. And then what would happen is I would reject any form of correction, because rejected people see all correction as rejection. And then what I found was I had conflict with authority figures because I could never let anyone correct me. So those were the areas that I found with rebellion.
Definitely. And especially with the subtle rebellion as well, that'll speak volumes to people, because I think we've all been in that situation where we kind of implode before we explode, don't we?
Right.
And oh, we do. We so do. Everybody has done that, I think. And what other breakthroughs have you had from your childhood experiences that have led you up to this path?
What I've found is, as I've gone along the journey, like that experience where people said to me, I was controlling and I never saw myself as that, then I would ask myself those hard questions. Why are they doing it? Then I'd seek and I'd look, and then that would lead me to find, wow, that's the reason I'm doing it. Then I would turn it into the positive and start to speak the truth in love as soon as possible. And that just transformed all my relationships.
Oh, that's great. So, did this impact while you're going through all of these breakthroughs and struggles and objections, and you're almost on the journey of self discovery and really finding yourself like we all do? But how did this impact the relationships around you with your parents and your sister and things like that?
I found that I opened up to them. I built strong friendships, relationships grew. I began to accept myself instead of rejecting myself. And as I did that, I just wanted to help more and more people break free from that rejection and have the breakthroughs. And so today it's one of my greatest joys to take people through these 20 different journeys and identify the breakdown, the breakthrough, and the impact. Because for many years, I just focused on the breakdown and the negative. But it was about 5 years ago, I started to realize, no, with every negative thing, you need to change it into a positive thing. And you need to take what have been challenges of stumbling blocks and turn them into building blocks.
Oh, I love that. Take the stumbling blocks and transform them into building blocks. Oh, I love that, Bradley. So talk us through, you mentioned 20 steps, and obviously this is how you're inspiring and teaching others to do that as well. What are the biggest learnings that you've seen and the biggest changes that you've seen, not only in yourself, but other people from actually implementing those 20 steps?
I've seen relationships completely transformed. I had a medical doctor who did the 60 sessions with me last year on Facebook Live. And he wrote and he said, "Thank you. I have learned how not to be performance driven. And I'm now learned not to be a human doing, but to become a human being." And just that was so exciting. And then another leader had me in to do this with a group, and he didn't think he had much rejection. And after I'd gone through all 20 of these, he said to the people, I didn't think I had many, but as he's gone through these, I could just tick off one after another. And I'm so thankful I've gone through this with him.
Oh, so you're providing breakthroughs and smash throughs and overcomes for so many people, because for
Yes,
some people we think we're a certain character built on what our childhood belief systems are, right? So when we
right.
start like breaking it down, then we're sometimes, when we get to the core of it, would you agree, Bradley, when we get to the core of it, we can actually, it's not the person that we think we are, it's the person that we've become. Would you agree with that, or would that be something
I
different?
totally agree. And so often we have just been negatively programmed. For 18 years, all I thought of myself was a spastic retard. I was angry at people. I was angry at God. I was saying, why do you make me this spastic retard? And then when I had the breakthrough, I said, I want to help as many to get that same breakthrough as well.
Oh, I think that's absolutely amazing. Now, I'm really interested in your spiritual journey. I really am, because I don't come from a background of faith, but I love hearing about people's faith. I love hearing about their experiences and how it makes them a whole person. Could you let us know a little bit about that as well?
Well, I would say I grew up in a Christian home. My father was actually a minister. And so they had prayed for me before I was born. It's through their prayers that I was saved at birth. And when the doctors called them and said, your son has 2 hours left to live. Come see him. For the last time, they gathered round the incubator and prayed. And my mother's mother, my grandmother, specifically prayed and said, Lord, if you save his life, let him be used in your work one day. And so at the age of 13, I committed my life to God, but for 5 years, I had such thick walls around me because of the rejection and the pain and all of that I never even let God come in. But at the age of 18, I just really felt God say, I want everything. Will you commit everything? And I thought, I'm a shy, fearful, lonely, hurting young man. What have I got to lose? And I stood up and I surrendered everything. And from that day on, my life absolutely changed. I found God speaking to me through the Bible, through people, through messages. And then I just began to have some of the most incredible experiences where my one leg was shorter than the other. I went to a prayer service, and as I prayed, my leg instantly grew out and was miraculously healed. Another time I was with a group on a mission, and we were attacked by 16,000 rebels, and our leader prayed, and as he prayed and raised his hands, an army came in and the 16,000 fled. And when 20 of us went back there 6 weeks later, some of these rebels came and said, where's your angel? Don't hide him in the green tent. And we said, what are you talking about? And they said, when we attacked you, your leader raised his hands and a big angel appeared and rebuked us in our mother tongue and told us to flee before the wrath of God came on us. And then another time I was leading a prayer journey through Taiwan, and our double-decker bus began slipping down the mountain and was literally saved by 2 or 3 trees, which in the natural, there was no way those trees could have saved us. But people who were praying at the home base saw angels holding the bus up, and not one of us was injured in that. So I've had some really incredible experiences that have just caused my faith to grow.
Oh, definitely. So I love that you say that the angels, so they're like protectors. They're looking out for you because you've gone through the healing. You've let the negative go, you've let the light in, and then the guardian angels are looking after you, and the work that you're doing can only amplify that, right?
Totally. And I know that if it wasn't for the power of God helping me to forgive, I wouldn't be here today, because I had learned to forgive those who bullied and teased me. And then my test came in 1998 when I had been at a little church in Virginia here in America, and on the Monday night after I'd ministered, the pastor's wife felt led to wash my feet and adopt me into their family and church. Her husband and son did the same thing. And the next day, her husband was saying, I don't know what that was about. My wife doesn't do that. And I said, don't worry, we'll know. And 4 days later, I called him sobbing. And I said, I know what Monday night was about. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, my father was murdered in South Africa last night for his cell phone and his car. And had I not known how to forgive, I wouldn't be here today, but I overcame that challenge. And I know bitterness can so often affect healing or not healing. If we don't let that bitterness go, it can keep us ill.
What kind of mindset do you have to do? What kind of work did you have to do? Would you recommend sharing with everybody listening? What kind of work do you have to do to connect with yourself to be able to forgive on such a great level of overcoming bullying and really bad things that have happened to you, bad words spoken to you, the feelings surrounding that? What is the biggest thing that you would be able to let our audience know to be able to have the mindset to overcome that, to let the light in?
I think it would be to simply say, connect with God in a relationship, not a religion. Christianity is not a religion. It's a living relationship with a living God. And when you connect with Him on that level, it doesn't matter what you go through. What matters is who is with you when you go through it. And if He is with you and helping you, you can overcome. I remember for me, the night that I realized unless I loved myself, I wouldn't love God and others properly. I went outside in the dark at that camp, and it's so real. It almost brings tears every time I think of it. And I say, God, I don't care what people say anymore. I don't care what they think. I thank you that you made me the way I am. 2 weeks later, I'm battling to write in biology, and someone at the back of the class yells out, "Come on, spastic, move the notes up faster." And I just ignored him. I pretended I didn't hear. And a week later, he came and apologized. And I said, I don't care what you call me. That's who I am. I'm allowing my character, my inner self to be changed, but who I am physically, I cannot change. And I could only do that with a strong faith and help of God.
I think that's wonderful, because when we truly love ourselves, when we truly connect with our inner self and we have a higher purpose, the posture that we hold when somebody else criticizes us and we go and we've got the power to just ignore them because we know the truth. I think that is the most powerful place to be in self-love and self-worth. And to have that self-worth in ourselves is such a journey, and we can only achieve it once we've overcome those obstacles and really truly love ourselves, where we look into the mirror, Bradley, and we say, I love you. And whatever anybody else says, like you had that defining moment where it overwhelmed you and you connected with yourself and you no longer cared about what anyone else said. That is such a powerful moment. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't get to experience that. And
That's so true.
the journey that you have to take to be able to experience that, it's almost like a sliding door moment. It's like who you were and who you became all within a short amount of time, a short time frame, and it can literally change the projection of your life, and you get to write the remaining chapters of your life, and you're no longer that person who used to be in the forward chapters. So I absolutely love the inspiration that you share around that. And I really hope people connect with you through that so that you can help them find that place where they can truly love themselves and have that self-worth to hold that posture. And it's almost like an armor, isn't it? It's almost like an armor we put over
It's
ourselves. So talk us
yes.
through a little bit more about that experience, if you don't mind, because I think our audience, especially here at Victim to Victory, will really resonate that, because I know that a lot of our audience listening are trying to find themselves or find a way to find themselves. And I think that you've just created that space for them.
Well, it says in Psalm 139 that God formed us in the womb. He knew us before we were even born. And so when we connect with him, we realize he doesn't make junk. He only makes perfect things. And once we let go of the lies and we embrace the truth, that is what brings incredible freedom. And that truth can only come by us pressing in to listen to the truth instead of being programmed by the lies. And so I would encourage everyone in the audience, if you've had a negative mindset, go today and just say, will you help me to change that mindset? I remember one of the people with severe cerebral palsy that can barely speak, but he has so overcome that his punchline is, I have cerebral palsy. What's your problem?
I love that. I love that. Or what's your superpower?
Right.
I love that. I totally love that. And when we've got that bit of swagger, we can use it to our best advantage, because we totally own that. We totally own
Totally.
our superpowers, don't we? Whatever we
Yeah.
think of as our weakness, with a lot of self-development and looking inwards and having that inner journey, that totally becomes our superpower. I love that story.
So true.
So bring us up to where you are today, Bradley, because I know that you're married, you've got two beautiful adopted children. Tell us a little bit about that.
So from going from what the world called a spastic retard, I graduated high school with a lot of tears and hurt, often not being able to complete exams and get the grades I knew I could. But when I did my degrees and finally got my degree, doctorate in theology, I got a summa cum laude. And I just realized that was a healing from all the times that I wept that I couldn't finish the exams and do it. And then I went from someone who rejected himself to want to change the world. And I felt God saying I was going to take a message of hope and healing to the nations. And I thought, oh, right, I'll go to a few nations. But as I was writing my biography, I realized I'd actually touched ground on 38 different nations. So going from that and then waiting for the bride that I had waited for, God gave me a wonderful woman of God who had been adopted from Korea by an American family. And then we came together through a friend supernaturally connecting us via Facebook. And then we got married 10 years ago. And we knew we wanted to adopt because Sue had been adopted, and then we ended up being able to adopt two children from China, first a son and then a daughter, and it's just been such an incredible journey. And just today, being able to be here to give people hope and victory over rejection is the greatest joy in my life.
I love the legacy that you're leaving as well to your daughter and your son. And no doubt they're going to pick up on the powerful inspiration and the lots of overcome lessons that you have and your beautiful wife are teaching your children as well, because it's all about leaving a legacy for the next generation, right? We need to
Totally,
be better and
totally.
break those generational chains that sometimes hold us back, because that is our future.
That is so true. So very, very true.
What kind of message would you like to leave our audience on today, Bradley?
I would like to say to everyone listening today, there's hope and there's victory. No matter how wounded or broken or rejected you feel, you are able to overcome. But the thing is, you need to start the journey. Don't try to speed the process. Allow the healing to come step by step, and know that there is victory for every single one. If you have faith and trust and start by being willing to let go. Often we like the child who's cut their finger, they come crying to mommy, but when mommy comes with a band-aid, they say, no, 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 it's too sore, it's too sore. But I want to say it's not too sore for God to heal if you will have faith and trust him to do it.
And start by letting go. You have been such an inspiration today. You are changing lives. You are the person that the world needs so much, because you are leaving a legacy for generations that is going to make this world a much better place. I would really like to thank you for being brave, for sharing your story. There are so many lessons and golden nuggets and tips that people can actually take instant action on as a result of your experiences. So I would like to thank you for that. You are so appreciated. And you can find the Victim to Victory podcast on YouTube, Anchor, and Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you got value from today, we'll be sharing Dr. Bradley Stuart's link out with you. Connect with him. He's changing lives, helping lives, and breaking through lives. So please subscribe, like, share, and comment. And I'd like to leave you with a message of step into your story, figure out who you are, and do it on purpose. Thank you very much, Bradley.
Thank you.